We were more like brothers looking out for each other, hung together through thick and thin. You gotta have a
Podcast world, what's up?
wingman.
Chad Belding back at you. Another episode. This one is Eukanuba Duck Dog Series, fueled by Eukanuba and all of our friends at Eukanuba Performance Dog Food. Please check them out for all of your sporting dog needs. There is a reason why the top handlers, the top trainers, the top breeders, Super Retriever Series, you name it, they are feeding Eukanuba because it works and it turns dogs' lives around. I've seen it firsthand. I've witnessed firsthand. I've had several people that have changed diets, and they are sending me videos on the daily telling me, look at the teeth, look at the hips, look at the joints. Just their dogs have more energy. One dog in particular is Miss Ella down in Chico, California. She's 9 years old, and her owner, Brad, says that she's acting like a 3-year-old again. She's so ready for duck season to get here. He's happy as heck. We're happy as heck with the results we're getting from the Eukanuba diet plan. And the whole scientific, the backbone, the research, everything that's gone into their recipes and their diet and their formulas is truly amazing. I suggest that you look into it. I'm not telling you just to take my word. Do your forensic audit on it and see for yourself of why Eukanuba is leading the pack when it comes to sporting dog nutrition and diet. I'm so proud of my guest today for what she's achieved in her life and what her family has achieved in outdoor TV. From Dancin Dog Productions. I remember the first time I met this lady was in Saskatchewan, Canada. We were in a little town called Wilkie with Fred Zink, Justin Tackett, a dog named Yella that was world famous on not the Pursuit Network, but the Versus Network and other networks at the time on Ducks Unlimited's Water Dog TV. She has I've been told by many people that this lady is responsible for the power of sporting dogs today and why they're at the forefront and why you see them all over ESPN and national TV today. Shannon Nardi, Dancin Dog Productions, Super Retriever Series, sponsored and presented by Eukanuba. Welcome to this episode.
Thank you. Wow. Big kudos. Thank you.
Big kudos. You look nice today. You have you look like a country singer getting ready to go on stage or at least do sound check or something. Can you sing us a song real quick?
No.
Why? You're from Arkansas. You would think you could lay down a little nice voice.
No. I'm not that good.
Bring it, Shannon. Hey, Shannon, when I hear people say that kind of stuff, and then I know how long you've been doing this, I remember, this is my memory. It was 2002 or 2003. You can tell me when exactly it was. I didn't meet you personally until 2005, but in 2002 or 2003, I was a part owner in a portable sanitation toilet company in Reno, Nevada, and we got the contract for the ESPN outdoor games at Rancho San Rafael. And I saw you up there, and Justin Tackett, I think, was actually like the voice and the color commentator, play-by-play. And you guys were doing the sporting dog, the duck dog part of the ESPN outdoor games. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, very much.
And what was that all about?
The great outdoor game started in 2000. We spent 3 years in Lake Placid, New York, and then we moved to Reno. And so I do remember that because it was a lot different. It was a different weather for us in Reno in July than it was in Lake Placid in July.
And you guys, did you start ESPN Outdoor Games? Was it your event as a whole, or were you just in charge of the sporting dog?
My father actually was a big innovator of the ESPN Outdoors block. Okay. And that was in the early 80s, I believe. But he and a bunch of the other people at ESPN, because of the ESPN Outdoors, decided to put together the games. And the games consisted of, bass fishing, fly fishing, all the timber sports, which my father's company produced. And then we had 4 dog sports: big air, agility, fly ball, and retriever trials. And then there was a bunch of shooting sports. So it was just like an outdoor Olympics. It was super, super fun. If you talk to anybody that attended that or worked it, it's like a memory that we all loved. And it's actually 20 years old this week was when we did the first one.
Would you say? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I thought you were done. Anyway, what?
I was put in the retriever trial venue. What I wasn't really happy about it actually, because I kind of got separated from my colleagues that I worked with. And I was going to be working with some ESPN producers and, that I kind of knew of, but and kind of afraid of. so I was a little bit intimidated to go off-site, 3 miles away from the main venue and work this venue that I really knew nothing about. I had no idea that retrievers did what they did. I knew they duck hunted, and I knew, I had a Labrador retriever, but I really didn't understand that there was a game that they played. So that game was created as a hybrid game of many different sort of retriever games for ESPN, and where it could be understood on television. There was a score happening, and people could understand what was happening. So it was kind of built for that. And my first job was to sit in a trailer and watch the footage come in, and I would be editing that after it was all done. But I saw that dog I'll never forget it. I was sitting in there watching a monitor, and a dog went out 300 yards, and the guy blew a whistle, and he turned around, and I was completely stunned by that, just stunned by that, because I had no idea they could do that, And so after that, it affected me so much that I think my whole life completely changed from that moment on, because I was so into that. Later on, they started the Super Retriever Series as a qualifier for the games. And because I was working that venue for those 3 years, I got to be the producer of that. So, and I've just kind of ended up with it. So,
so at this time, when you're sitting in that trailer, Shannon Nardi, are you a dog lover, a dog owner at the time?
Oh yeah, I have a dog. I love animals, and I love dogs, and I always have. But I just didn't understand. There's so much I know now compared to what I did then, but I didn't understand their capabilities.
And so you're sitting in the trailer, you see this blind 300 yards, whistle stop, the handler sends him and casts him in a different direction to get the retrieve and bring it back. A light bulb goes off in your head right then, or did a conversation take place? Do you go to tack it, and that he's a duck hunter from Arkansas?
He really taught me. There's so much to the retriever games. There's so much. I'm still learning about it because there's so much to that game. It's just it's overwhelming, really. But he taught me so much, because I had to learn a lot, especially trying to edit programming. I had to understand so I could help an audience understand, if that makes sense. I had
Totally.
to understand it myself so I could say, okay, do I understand this? Because I got to teach an audience this as well. So, but yeah, I just started learning about it. But it was such a cool thing to me. I just fell in love with it, that it was easy to want to learn about it.
And is this something to where this is the first year of the ESPN games? Is this 2000 when this happens, or is this in Reno?
This is 2000.
This is 2000.
2004. And we were offsite in Carson City.
Yep.
This was our fourth games. And actually that was 2003, because Chris Aiken won that one.
With Boomer?
With Boomer. And for some reason that year, that was our third programming year. So that everything just took off that year. It really took off. The Super Retriever Series just got so large so quick. We had a waiting list to get into play. We only had 3 events a year. And it just, it was just a different level for that. And I think that really did trigger a lot of things changing in the retriever world across the board. I think it was good for all retriever sports.
Well, let's think about some of that for a second. You make it a qualifier for the ESPN outdoor games, but spawned off of that comes a slew of pretty much celebrities in the game, to where not just the Tackett's and the Aikens and the handlers, but now I remember one shot show where you could actually get Yella's autograph with a paw print. She was stamping them in an ink pad, and I don't remember whose booth y'all were in, but y'all were doing, Yella had an autograph line for a dog's paw print because of the success of the Water Dog show. But on top of that, you have Aiken putting out his Duck Dog Basics that you helped produce. You have the Avery Sporting Dog explosion with all of the things that came out of that, with the stands and the bumpers and everything that was coming to that. Then on top of that, you have this national TV show that spawned off of this, an idea that you come into with your experience in production and outdoor TV. You go to Tackett, who in my opinion to this day in 2020 is the best outdoor TV personality. Him and Michael Waddell are like the deal. Waddell's obviously the best because of his tenure, but Tackett was amazing on camera. Like, he was the golden child of the camera. He could talk he could sell.
Go ahead.
No, he could sell ketchup to a woman wearing white gloves, right? Like the dude was just amazing on camera. And then off of this comes Ducks Unlimited's Water Dog with Yella, Justin Tackett, and your travels. Now you guys are traveling all over the country, not just retrievers anymore. Now you're actually putting the hunt side of it together and the lifestyle and the culture. So all of this is spawned because of you sitting in that trailer that day and going, holy shit, did you just see that 300-yard blind? Excuse my French. Sorry about that. You're a Southern woman.
No, that's okay. I can't take all the credit for that because a lot of those things happened, and I just happened to be in the right place at the right time to be able to be a part of it. You know what I mean? There was a lot of people involved with that kind of thing, but Water Dog to this day will probably be the best thing I think I was ever involved in because it was so cool for me to cover those. Just every place we went. I mean, I'm probably the envy of most waterfowl guys because I went to so many places
everywhere
and just saw so many amazing, things about those places and the dogs at those places. And, so our show was about, Yella and her adventure really, and the other dogs that would be with us. And so all those were so really amazing to be a part of. And I do miss that. That was a super, super fun time.
Speaking of missing things, when I brought up Boomer the other day on a conversation with Aiken, I knew what Boomer meant to the duck hunting world and to the offspring and the puppies that are out there today. I knew what he meant to. He had, products named after him, the Boomer stand. And he had a bunch of things that came off of that dog. But Chris got really... he got sad, and he said that this was the first time since Boomer passed that he talked in depth about Boomer. Do you feel the same in your soul when somebody like Chris Aiken or Tackett calls you and says Yella passed, Boomer passed? Is it just as damaging to the soul as a friend passing?
Yeah, because I remember when Yella passed because I remember Justin called me and just said, "Hey, I'm coming by," and I hadn't talked to him in a while, and I knew. I knew exactly why he was coming by. That was tough. I mean, Yella was a dog that I feel like a lot of us learned through. We learned a lot about, the dog games, the hunting game and everything with the dog through Justin and Yella. There's no doubt in my mind. And I don't know if it's because I'm a female and I produced a waterfowl show or what, but I do feel like when that show was happening, it became very popular very fast too. And I do think it's because most men don't like to, they're not real sentimental about their dog. They all love their dog. They love their dog probably more than their family. Not really, but you know what I mean? And I felt like those adventures that we shared, it made that guy closer to his personal dog.
100%.
He wanted to, he just cuddled next to his dog and watched that adventure and just, he felt that feeling. And I was glad to be able to make that happen. That was kind of a cool thing, I think.
Did you see that with Aiken and Boomer too? That love life, that love story they were living?
Oh yeah. I mean, there was that, like I said, in 2003, when everything kind of blew up and we kind of, these guys kind of became stars. I mean, if you go back and listen or look, it's like, Justin and Yella, Chris and Boomer, Scott Greer and Liza, Jerry Day and Super Sue, there's that handful of guys that, Stacy Westham Rankin, there's so many of them that just became, tell us Calhoun and Goldie. I mean, remember that?
Oh, yeah.
110. So, there was a whole generation of dogs there. And I do kind of miss that. And even though the whole sporting dog game and the SRS and all that has grown in a sense that it's hard to get into those guys anymore. You know what I mean? Because that was their personal dog. They competed with that personal dog. And now, we have a lot of pros that bring several dogs and there's not that, you can't make that connectional bond with their personal dog like you used to, as far as a producer goes. Like,
but that's probably because of the success of it, and all of the the general public now want to have their dog trained by a Chris Aiken at Web Footed. So now Chris's kennel starts to explode. And now all of a sudden he's at the starter line with 15 labs instead of just Boomer.
Yeah.
because of the success of what you guys were building.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think I touched on this a little bit when I was hanging out with you at the Derby last year. We were lucky enough to experience that. That was so cool. You with your hat on and your lovely dress and looking all Southern bellish. I think I talked a little bit, but that trip that we went on, we're in Saskatchewan, we're in Wilkie, and then you and Tackett, we all kind of have this little, like idea. Well, we've never been out west, so hey, come out to Nevada. Let's go to Idaho. Let's do Oregon, and let's do some episodes of Water Dog with Chad out west. So we go to the Canvasback Club and we hunt with Dave Stanley, and we go to the dog cemetery there, and Yella performs. Huh?
That was super cool.
Yeah, and that was and then we go up and we hunt the Boise River, and I don't know if you remember Norris Dancer and Greg Dancer and the whole Dancer family, and that's where we had the accidents with Tellis Calhoun. Remember when he fainted and fell in the water, and we're like, oh God, what's going?
Yes, I'll have to pull that picture up because that picture is like a classic picture to me because nobody understands it except for those of us that were there. But we were taking photos when that happened, if you'll remember.
Yeah,
and we had all the ducks lined up on the log, and we had Goldie and Yella sitting there by that log, and I was taking pictures, and they were looking at Justin and Tellis, so they had this kind of a profile of them, and Tellis passes out in the water, and both of those dogs, they perk up, like their ears, they're all kind of like, what, and I got that picture, so when I look at that picture, I know exactly what their reaction is, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah, and we were like stunned, we didn't know what was going on, but off of that trip, I received a phone call from one of your producers, Mike Devine, that was running a camera on that trip. Yeah. So that's how, this is the other kind of a success story that came off of Water Dog and Shannon Nardi's enterprises was the Foul Life is spawned because Mike Devine says, hey, I really liked what you did on camera with Tackett. Would you be interested in your own show? So we went to SHOT Show together. We started talking to potential sponsors. One thing leads to the other, and Mike's mom gets ill, and he has to go put her in the Mayo Clinic. So his time and finances are going to that. And I just asked him, I said, I was a toilet pumper at the time, and I had some shots. I was on Freddie's DVD series. I was on Water Dog a little bit. And so I leaned back and I said, I'm going to start a company called Banded Productions and Banded. And then out of that came The Foul Life.
Yep.
And when I was with Divine, the show was going to be called Dr. Duck, and I was going to write a prescription of success at the end of every episode.
I did not know that. That's
and I started thinking about it, and I'm like, no, but Paris Hilton show, she had some show called The Good Life or something with Lionel Richie's daughter at the time on national TV, and it was called The Plush Life or The Good Life or whatever. So I said, I'm going to name a show called The Foul Life, and that's when I started going out to sponsors, Sportsman's Warehouse and Toyota and Avery and Tom Matthews back in the day, and we launched The Foul Life and Banded off of that trip when y'all came out west. So that's another thing that was spawned by the Great Outdoor Games and SRS and Shannon Nardi, the enterprises of Shannon Nardi, or whatever you call your empire you built.
I don't have an empire.
Yes, you do. Do you remember that though? Do you remember Mike Devine?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember him and David were our camera guys on the Water Dog Goes West series. That was a fun series. That was really fun because we went to Nebraska. We went to South Dakota first, Nebraska with Jake Latondras, came to Reno with you and did Dave Stanley, and then the what was their names again?
The Dancers.
And that was really cool. That was really cool there. And then we went on that river, which was also really, really cold. It was probably one of the coldest times. And I remember having that really tight vest on in that boat that went 100 miles an hour down that river.
Yeah, we were on the Snake River.
Yeah. No, it was super cool though. And that was a fun series to put together.
Yeah. And do you still think about times like that and want them again? Or have you,
it's like you said, I honestly don't think I will ever in my lifetime ever come close to being with a talent that was as good as Justin was. There's probably 4 talents that I can count on my hand that I've worked with that I thought were just, better than anything in the world. And Justin's one of those. My father, of course, Jose Wahebi and Tommy Sanders. Those 4 are so good at what they do. They don't even have to try. They just were good at what, they're just that good.
The third one was the Spanish Fly.
Yeah, Jose Whitehead.
Jose. His daughter runs his foundation
Yes.
now. I've done some
Yes.
work with them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Spanish Fly. That was a great TV show.
Yeah.
He was a
I worked on
stud.
that. I worked on that for, I guess, 2000 to 2006. And then I was kind of doing that in SRS and Water Dog, and I kind of just let that go and just went solely on just SRS and Water Dog at that time.
Right. And SRS starts to take off, and you start to put these events on across the country, and there's kind of two sides, right? There's the field part, and then there was the dock dogs, the jumping dogs that were.
Yeah, there is a dock portion of it, and we still do that.
And you're still traveling around the country, and you're setting up these events. And I remember in 2007, you came to Reno, and we set one up in the parking lot at Sportsman's Warehouse. And then we went down south again towards Carson City, where the trial part of it was ran.
Right. Yeah, we still do that. I don't, dock from the Great Outdoor Games and from SRS, dock jumping also became massively huge. So there's probably 3 or 4 organizations out there that are running events every weekend somewhere all over the place, several at the same time. So that event came really big. We really didn't go that. I didn't go that direction with the dock. I kind of stuck with, we get called a lot to do shows. Basically, it's like an entertainment. We're kind of an entertainment. You know what I mean? People still compete, but we're more of an entertainment for somebody.
So they'll it's more of a spectator deal.
I do a lot of things at Bass Pro Shops. I did the Bassmasters the Bassmaster Classic weigh-in last year in the middle of the arena. We put that up and brought a few dogs in to entertain that audience. And so we do all of those kind of things. And then we'll still do an invite and have a championship with our Retriever Trial Championship each year.
So how does the SRS, how is it laid out now to where is it? I know you have the Grand, right?
We have the Crown Championship.
The Crown Championship.
Grand is the HRC Grand. There's a HRC Grand. There's a AKC Master National. There's an AKC National Open, and then there's the SRS Crown Championship. So there's that. Those are the big 4.
And the Crown takes place in Mississippi?
It did last year. We are going back to Huntsville, Alabama this year, and it will be the end of October.
And how do you qualify for the Crown?
We have had, being that we've canceled 5 events this year, we're kicking back up. We had 2 events in June. We're kicking back up in July. We have 4 events in a row. If everything goes, as smoothly in that state. But we have approximately 10 to 15 qualifiers in the year that are primarily put on by different clubs. And then the top 3 pros and the top 3 amateurs from those qualifiers will be invited to the Crown. And then we've also, since the beginning, we've also partnered with UKC. So we're now on their registry. So we've developed a point system to get an actual title. And they are honoring all of our dogs from the past 20 years. So if dogs from 2005 actually got the criteria that you need to get your title, then they'll get that title. So we developed a point system. So, and that's based on your placement at the finish. And if you get 6, 5, or 4 points coming in first, second, or third place, you're invited to the Crown. You can also earn 4 points by coming in, 5th, 6th, or 7th, or 4th, 5th, or 6th, and getting 1, 2, or 3 points. But if you can get a total of 4 points within the year, then you'll qualify for the championship.
So 4 points gets you to the Crown.
Yes.
How many
that was a long explanation for that, wasn't it?
No, it's good. How many qualifiers will you have for Alabama?
We will probably, I'm thinking we're going to have somewhere between 68, 78 qualifiers. That's
really?
Dog too. So, so some guys can have, like Lyle Steinman will have probably 2 or 3 qualified, 2 or 3 dogs, and Luke Core will have 2 or 3, or more. I mean, both of those guys had 6 dogs qualified last year. So that'll be 68 to 78 dogs qualified. And then, some will be singular handlers and some will have more than one.
Aiken was talking about how for these field trials and hunt tests, like when the online registration takes place, how fast they're filling up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the AKC has that I mean, I guess it's good for AKC. It's bad for a lot of guys trying to get in. So I hear a lot of mumbling about that a lot. I don't, we'll take 80 dogs in our events. They take a lot more at those, and those are kind of a pass fail type of event. Ours is more, our event's more competition, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like if you go to the HRC, if I go to HRC with my dog now, I'm trying to get a pass on her to earn her title. But an SRS is, you have to get those titles to even really play SRS. You have to know that game pretty well on all sides. You have to
explain that part to me. How do you play SRS? How do you get in?
You have to have a title, or you should have a title, or don't come, because you're gonna struggle. So you have to have a dog that has earned a master hunter title or a hunting retriever championship title based on the organization you're in, because that dog is going to have to run all types of tests. They're going to have to run a field trial scenario. They're going to have to run a hunt test scenario. They're going to have to run a hunt savvy, which is like, you're going to have to either be in a layout blind or a boat or a rough stand. They're going to have to feel like it's in a hunting environment, and we call that hunt savvy. So your dogs have to be so well-rounded in all the games and advanced in all those games to really compete in our game. And our game is a competition. So you're competing against other. You're not competing against a standard. You're competing against other teams.
So is there, before you accept an entry, can I just come in there and say, hey, Jack over here is awesome at the park. I want to run him in your event next week. And then I get there and I'm like, oh gosh, Jack just got smoked.
Yeah.
Does that happen or has that stopped happening?
It has happened. It doesn't happen too much anymore, but it has happened. And, in our rules, it says, you should have these titles. If you don't, and you still think you can compete, you can call one of the board members or me and explain why you think you can compete, because it has happened where somebody, oh, my dog's the greatest, we're going to get him in here, and then they get smoked. And then they're like, man, I paid a lot of money to play. And, it's like, well, yeah, you got to, we told you have to have a really good dog to participate in this. So.
Does it happen like it does in youth sports where every mom and dad thinks their son's the next Alex Rodriguez or Ken Griffey Jr. and they just like, my dog can run with Yellow and run with Boomer and run with all the studs?
I think probably in our minds, yes. I mean, I don't think anybody ever really says that out loud, but we all think our dog's the greatest dog. We all think that. We all think our dog is the greatest dog in the world. And it's because you love them no matter what they can do or can't do. You know what I mean?
So I touched on this with Aiken too. Is there anything that bugs Shannon Nardi about a dog? Can a dog not be trained well enough to where you're like, put the dog back on the trailer, get the dog out of the duck blind. I don't want to be around a squealing dog. I can't or do you ever get that? Or because you've been exposed to the best of the best. It's like eating the finest Wagyu beef every night and then saying, hey, you have to eat this coyote backstrap, Shannon. Like, you've been exposed to the best of all time in the sporting dog world. You've worked with the Nardis and the Aikens and the Tackett's and all of the top. There's so many great trainers out there. You have Lee Howard now and Brad Arrington and all of this. There's great trainers all over this country. Do you ever are you critical of dogs now, and have you gotten kind of hoity-toity about your choice and which dogs you hang out with?
No, I don't. I mean, I can see where trainers might get like that because they know what a dog can do and is supposed to do and all that. But I like all of them. I like every dog. I like every dog. I mean, I used to go to those. I used to go to that AKC Eukanuba National or the National. What was it called? They still do it in Orlando. I went to that several years. Justin and I went to that, and he would actually do some demos with Yella and from the sporting dog side of it. But it's a dog show. It was like a foo-foo dog show, Westminster type of thing.
Westminster.
And that, there's 1,500 different dogs there, and it's the coolest thing to me because I really do just enjoy seeing all the different dogs. You know what I mean?
This is
so I don't.
You see
I don't
Dove?
stand. Look at that.
Say hi, Dove. Say hi to Shannon. This is little Dove.
Hi. I had to put my dog up because I knew she would probably bark at me while I was on this thing.
He's been laying here almost snoring the whole time. He's just chilling. We ran this morning. But yeah, I was just wondering is like if
I don't, I mean, yes, I can tell the difference between a good, and I'll tell you what, like people, people that I know that have a dog or a puppy, I can, and even me, I have a year-old puppy. So, I mean, I'm dealing with all the puppy stuff right now. So, you want them, I know how they can be. And I want my dog to be like that. I want them to be so mannered. And of course, they're dogs. They're going to do, you never know what they're going to do.
So are you a trainer?
I always say like in the competition, to me, it's like, it can like any given Sunday, it's that any given Sunday, you have no idea what they're going to do on that day. You know what I mean? You think this dog is the best dog in the world and you're getting ready to watch him run and he could just blow up that day.
See a butterfly and go chasing a butterfly.
So, yeah.
Are you training or like when Shannon Nardi says she has a young puppy, do you train it yourself or do you pick one of these trainers?
No, I did that one time, but I have had I've had several Labradors, but I've had 3 Labradors since I saw that Great Outdoor Games. So since I've known what they can do. The first one I trained, and I have the best training group in the world here. I mean, I'm part of the Pin Oak HRC Club that has some of the top trainers here, amateur, just top. And so I trained with that group, and I did that with my first dog, and then I had a litter of puppies accidentally. So I kept one of those and I named her Whoopsie, and I did send her off because I was so busy at the time. I just couldn't. But there's a different bond you have training your own dog and not training your own dog. I mean, you always have a bond with your dog, but working one-on-one with your dog, for me, there's a difference. So when I got Peach, who's my dog now, I said, I'm making the time to do that because I just felt like I had so much of a better bond with Gia just because, we knew each other. I mean, she knew exactly what I was thinking and I knew what she was thinking, just because we worked together so much. And I want that with the dog I am now. So I am trying my best. I'm probably the fault of the party because I'm not a good trainer, but I'm trying. I read a lot. I watch a lot. I hang out with the group and try to learn as much as I can. It's hard, man. It's a hard game. There's so much to it.
So what's your end game with your dog right now? Do you want this dog to be an SRS champion? Or are you trying to train to that level?
Oh, I'd only hope I could be at that level. I mean, I would love to be able to run test dog. Okay. That's the goal, is maybe to run Peach as a test dog at SRS one day. But no, I really do want to take her through all the programs I like to get through. I've got my started title, which is the very first title you can get. So my next title will be at HRC, and I'll be going for the season title. And then I'll try to get my hunting retriever champion, and I might try to attempt the grand. So I'm going to try to take her as far as I can,
Wow, that's fun. Cool as heck.
It's fun for me.
So how many hours a day is this?
Well, I probably spend, a half hour every month. It's hard to train right now because it's so dang hot. And I know she gets hot fast. So I try to go really early in the morning between 6:30 and 7 and just run a drill, at the soccer field or at Pepper's Pond. I'll go to one of the two and try to do something. But I try to do that daily. If I can't get away, I just go in my front yard and just do simple drills. But I'm trying to always do something with her. But yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to our mutual friend and partner, Eukanuba. Now, yeah. I want to preface this by saying that a lot of trainers like Aiken, they don't necessarily get all this food given to them. They don't get just pallets and pallets of food throughout the year, every dog trainer that you see feeding a Eukanuba diet. I want to say that because when people see a sponsored event like SRS, they're going to say, well, they're paying for people to feed the food. I got to make sure that people understand that this food is being fed by Shannon Nardi and Chris Aiken and Brad Arrington and the top trainers in the world for a reason. Because here's the deal. A dog trainer, it's the same with me in TV. I have Benelli. I think Benelli's the greatest shotgun ever built for what I do in duck hunting and what our crew does. There is a lot of companies that have come after us, and I won't and I'm not saying this in an arrogant way, Miss Shannon, so please don't take that, but I won't even entertain the phone call or the meeting, or because I don't want to have to sit there and say, I already know the answer, right? So Aikens, the guys that are feeding a lot of dog food every day, some of these kennels, Miss Shannon, are 90, 140 dogs at a time. There is no way that a Chris Aiken would compromise the diet and the longevity and the life of a dog because he's going to get a little bit of money or free food from a Eukanuba. Let's make that clear, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's 100%.
And so why do they feed it then?
Well, that's the best for one. I mean, I was sponsored by Eukanuba in the early days for a long, long time. And that's kind of where I learned about the food then. And that's when I started feeding it. And then when Procter & Gamble sold that to Mars, there was kind of an empty space there. But I still fed it because it's good. I mean, I've had 2 dogs go from puppy to senior and have passed, and I know what that food did for those dogs. Like as a puppy, as a middle-aged dog, and as a senior dog. Number one, the one thing I always know about that is their joints. My dogs were really good in their hips and all that as an old age. I mean, they both lived long lives, and I never once had either one of their teeth clean. You know what I mean? Like that's a big deal to have that done. And, most people have to have that done with any dog. I never had to have that done. I never did that with my first 2 dogs. And, their coat, I always think it makes their coat feel like mink.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not just us saying this. It's the difference is night and day.
Oh yeah.
It truly is.
I think so. I can tell it.
All the time on every dog?
I can tell. Well, I can pretty much know it by feeling a coat. I'm thinking they must feed Eukanuba because this coat feels like mink. But no, it's definitely a high performance food, and it's good. And I fed senior food to my old dogs, so I've always stuck with it. And there's another guy too that I don't know that you know him, but he's part of the Ute group, and he was also a guy that started a long time ago with Uke and stuck with Uke even during that down period. And that says a lot because he's one of the top field trial trainers in the country, and that's Al Arthur.
Yeah. We talk about Al Arthur quite a bit on the podcast, and Aiken talked about how, he's an OG from the Eukanuba days, and there's a reason why. And he's one of the most successful field trial trainers of all time, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's definitely up there.
And his dad was, now there's 2 Arthurs, right? There was a senior.
His dad is God, I just went blank on his name. I want to say Joe. Is it Joe? I don't know. Hugh Arthur. Yeah, he was a dog trainer. I think he still trains with Al.
What makes Al special with the field trials? Why is it his method? Is it a secret to his success at all?
I don't know. I mean, he's just always been in the mix, I'm not sure. I have field trial. If you look at the hierarchy, is looked at as one of the top. I mean, like a lot of the dogs that run SRS are what they call field trial washouts, meaning they just didn't have quite enough what it took to complete in a field trial. And a lot of guys will get those dogs and compete them in SRS. And doesn't mean they're not good, because they are, but the field trials are really big, hard game. So the guys that train in that game are, that are successful are pretty good dog trainers, or you would consider them all really good dog trainers. And Al's just one of those,
Is Mike Nardi kind of the godfather of field trials, or why is he considered the tops?
I think I don't know. I don't really know that answer. But he is one of the top ones, and he's done a lot of series, DVD series, and, things that, you can go learn through his techniques and stuff, but he definitely is a higher one. Danny Farmer is also one. I worked on his DVD. So there's several different, there's a handful of guys that everybody knows their name, and there's probably more that I'm not as familiar with, because I don't really follow too closely in the field trial world. So.
And do you think that the Eukanuba performance and the Eukanuba diet is suitable for all? If you weren't in such a this part of your life that's so wrapped around retrievers and high powered dogs, do you think that the normal pet owner is going to benefit off of Eukanuba?
Hey, my girlfriend just got a border collie like literally a month ago, and she called me up. She's like, "What do I buy?" I go, "You go buy Eukanuba, probably medium breed or whatever. Look on the bag, but go feed that to your dog because they're going to benefit from it. I recommend that to everybody.
And can you give me like the time in your career that you started thinking this way, or was there a reason why you did? Was there something that made you go, "Oh wow, there's a big difference in this"? Was there something that just like it went off in your mind, like we were going to feed this to all of our dogs? Because when you put that name on
I've always fed it. I mean, and before I got into this profession, 20 years ago, I probably didn't feed it. I don't even know what I fed, but I didn't pay attention to how important that really is at that time. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was just feeding my pet at home. I didn't pay attention to that as much. I've learned a lot, by going, the things that you and I did last year with Eukanuba and learning about their food process. I got to do that, 20 years ago or 15 years ago. So I've always understood why, the dog's food is important and what it does for them and how important that is. And I remember Justin saying this, I'll never forget this. He would always say, because he'd always preach the preach with Eukanuba, and he's always been a Eukanuba guy. So I remember him talking to guys, I was like, hey, look, you got to, how much does your boat cost? How much does your motor cost? How much did you spend on your gun? How about your truck? About that four-wheeler you got. And you're not buying the best for your dog, and this is your best hunting buddy right here. This is your best friend right here. And you can't fork out some money for him, and it makes sense, your dog is a prized possession. It's your best friend. You're going to want to give him the very, very best. Why wouldn't you,
Yeah, and it's like all of the instruction that duck hunters either teach themselves or learn from mentorship programs of how to be a better shotgunner, how to blow a duck call better, how to be a better boat operator, how to be a better decoy setter upper and a duck deceiver, right? Like how do we trick these things to get them closer? We're just enamored with them, right? They eat us up and they control our every move as a duck hunter. And then it's almost like, well, this dog's out there and he's high powered and he's doing all this stuff and he's bringing these ducks back. And a lot of us have taken that for granted in the past, and I think that's what Eukanuba's taught me that more than anything. Like what you just said, Tackett would talk about is there should be it shouldn't come down to the cost of that bag of dog food at all when it's for this high powered, he's a conservation tool. He or she's a conservation tool, but she's also our best friend and our companion and ride in our front seats with the heater on, right? So do you get people that tell you like, "Oh, that's too expensive"? Have you heard that?
Yeah, I heard that. And I say the exact same thing. I say the exact same thing to them. Like, okay, so how much? And I do. I'm like, how much does your boat cost you? Because you think about all the stuff you spend on waterfowl. It's an expensive sport. It's expensive. Dog training and all that's an expensive sport. And your one thing, your living thing, your BFF right here, you got to take care of them. You've got to take care of them, and they deserve that. There should be no question about that at all.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, and I think that's part of the education process on why is there such sticker shock when you see it. I don't want to sit here and make it sound like it's so expensive because it's not. No. Let's put it this way: if you have a dog and you feed him or her 40 pounds a month, I don't know how much you're going to feed, but you're looking at a $600 price tag for the year.
Yeah.
If that. So if you take that into consideration with the performance and the longevity, the energy, everything that dog's going to benefit out of this this nutritional and this diet plan from Eukanuba, it doesn't make sense not to do it. It just truly doesn't. It's just the results we've gotten are truly like they're night and day.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And I agree with him. I'm 100% behind you on all that.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those things to where people just have to look at it like, yeah, you're right. Like we do spend a lot of money. I mean, we spend more on biscuits and gravy and freaking Casey's pizzas
Yeah.
than we do on our dog. There's a problem with that.
Exactly. No, you're right. That's very true.
It's a problem with that. Yeah, I think that the whole Eukanuba culture is like that's what people are starting to get out of is like, hey, we might pay for it, but here's the results that we're going to get, and we're seeing them. I mean, we run our dogs, and what's that?
I think it adds longevity to your dog too. I mean, if it's good on their joints and it helps with their joints and their teeth and all those things, you're going to get some extra years out of that. And it goes by fast. I mean, I know I know that time goes by fast.
Oh, it's amazing how fast it goes. We were talking about that the other day, how fast our lives are going by. And
I know.
And you look at a dog and like Duff's already 2 years old and I'm about to get Brad's coming out here and bringing Axel and he's already 3.5. And it seems like just yesterday we got him and it just flies by. And I think that there's like, when you have an opportunity to have a hunting dog, you got to pump the brakes and slow down and enjoy the whole experience and the story and the process, because we're so all about those results of like, man, we want him to get high power. We want him to retrieve. We want him to do this. Well, then they're like, man, he's not a puppy anymore. Oh gosh, he's already through his adolescence, and it flies by. And people have to. That's why you're so lucky, and people like us that we get to document this. I mean, we have so much footage. I love going back and watching those old. I don't know if people still know what DVDs are, and thankfully we're not talking about VHS tapes, which some of our conversations do. But DVDs, I will go back and watch those Water Dog episodes all the time of Yella.
Good. I did that. I just did that probably a couple months ago, and I don't know why. I stumbled across it on YouTube, and I watched my favorite of all of the Water Dog shows I did. My very favorite is when we went to Maine, and that was the first year, and we hunted sea ducks.
I remember that,
and it was that was the coolest thing to me. Just the whole experience of the whole thing was cool to me. So it was. But that was on, and I found it, and I sat there and watched the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
I love putting them on and watching them. Tackett was kind of I remember one episode y'all were up at, was it Firewater?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was that the name of his lodge in South Dakota?
Yeah, we're there several times a year, or once a year.
And he was an owner in that, wasn't he?
Yes.
I remember one episode where he was shooting a spoonbill. He was literally laying on the side of a pond with Yellow laying by his, and he had that over-under shotgun that he got famous for carrying. But he's just laying there, no blind, nothing. He's just sitting there talking to Yella and having a conversation with himself. And a duck would fly by and he would shoot at it and Yella'd go get it and bring it back. And then it was just like really relaxed kind of deal about this man and his dog.
Well, and I always made sure we did one of those once a year. Because that's how we started. Our very first show was in South Dakota. It was just him and Yella, and he told the story about his old dog and getting Yellow and their, where they were getting ready to go. So she was just a puppy. I mean, she was probably a year old, maybe a year and a half. And I remember him just talking to her on the stand. He just talked to her, and there was a bunch of cows back there just watching us, watching the hunt. And I remember him like talking to her about the cows, they're not very smart and, and just having a conversation with her. And I remember thinking it was so great because you do that. Most people don't show that kind of thing, but you do talk to your dog when it's just the two of you. Do you not?
All of us do.
So I love the fact that he would have a conversation with her just as if it was, a person. And I made sure that we try to do one of those every year. I try to have a show where it's like, okay, we got to do a show where no guests. It's just going to be you and Yellow. Because I think that a lot of good things came out of those.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, it's one of the ones I remember the most out of every episode that I ever watched. It's one that I was just kind of like, he's really just sitting there talking.
Because that spoonbill, I remember that because he said she doesn't care that it's not a drake or a, canvasback. She didn't care. It's a duck to her,
100%. Just they don't care what it is. They want to retrieve.
They just want to get it. Yeah.
That would be funny though if like a dog got so particular that he or she'd be like, I'm not picking up that diver or that spoonbill. If you're not shooting mallards, just don't wake me up.
Exactly. That's funny.
There's duck hunters that are like that. I think I've become kind of like that.
And that's kind of why he said that, because he knew that there's people that would look down on the Spoonie, and that he made a point that's not, it's whatever she wants, It was about her too. And if you think about it, I don't know about you, if you've always hunted with a dog, you have since I've known you, but I can't imagine even going if I didn't have a dog. If
No
somebody
way.
didn't have a dog, because that's the whole fun to me, and to watch all that is what's fun to me. And I think that most guys that do hunt with dogs, that's what they talk about. They talk about that part of it all the time. It's just like, you guys always remember all the baseball scores and the basketball scores and football scores, and your hunts. You remember every hunt and what happened on it. But when you get around a bunch of guys that a bunch of trainers or a bunch of hunters that have dogs, when they talk about stats and all the stuff on their hunts, it's always about what the dog did.
Always. And that's what was so special about what Tackett would do, because when we get on location, after all the logistics are handled, which was your job, you were in charge of that part of it, even though I'm sure JT helped some, but we have camera set up, we have the hide, we have the guests, we have the interviews and the in-between flocks and a couple tips and tactics. And so I have a very difficult time handling a dog when I'm filming a hunt. Yeah. So I'm so blessed that we get to bring Brad Arrington or Andrew from Wild Acre, or somebody or have a handler there, or, somebody that has his or her own dog, because it's so hard. You got to give that dog attention. Not that they need it 100% of your time, but to handle a dog right, it's a full-time job during a hunt, and you want to get the most out of that dog during that. So what Tackett did is he was talking to the camera, he was talking to the ducks with his duck call, he was shooting, but he was also handling the dog. And I think that there's a different levels of complexity on different hunts that he was on, that it probably got difficult for him sometimes too. But handling a dog, you have to be on your A game during hunt. And I'm not saying that dogs are difficult, but when you have 6 shooters and the guns go off in flooded timber, and you have 18 or 8 or 9 ducks fall and one's crippled going behind this stump over here, that handler's got to be on his A game. So when you're trying to talk to a camera and do everything, you have to be able to say, okay, today I'm not handling the dog, Brad is, and Brad does a great job doing it. And that means that we're not going to miss a retrieve. Right.
That's interesting. I've never thought about it that way. And I don't know if that's the dog or what. Yellow was, she had like 3 different personalities. She had her hang around personality, and she was always obsessed with something. She's always dropping a rock in front of you or something to throw. Always. A matter of fact, I remember Keith Allison just recently said they posted a picture of something on Instagram, and I remember Keith Allison saying to me, I remember that because I remember Yellow bringing me a trash can out of the hotel to throw when they were doing those Cabela things. Remember the Cabela's things they were doing?
Yeah.
The Team Water Dog deal?
Yeah.
They would go to Cabela's, and it was Keith Allison and Chris and Justin. And,
they had the big embroidery of Yellow on the back of their shirts and everything.
And they did those things, and Keith talked about Yellow bringing him a trash can in the hotel room to throw because she was so obsessed. But anyway, she had that mode, and she had a hunt test mode. Like she knew she was getting ready to train or run a hunt test. And then she had her hunting mode, and she was 100%. Like you couldn't bother her. You couldn't get in front of her. You couldn't talk to her. She was like, get out of my way. I'm watching for birds. You know what I mean? She was just 100% focused on what she had to do. And she knew that. It was weird to me that she totally knew her job, and that was it. So Tackett didn't really have to do anything. She was
That's
just
crazy.
doing her thing. You know what I mean? But it was cool to watch her. Like I remember one of the shows we did at Firewater, and we went with his clients. There were several clients, and it was probably, 6 or 8 of them lined up in layout blinds. We were in a cornfield, and Justin and Steve Millman were guiding that hunt, and they had Yella, and I can picture his dog, but I can't remember the dog's name. But anyway, and there was tons of birds, tons. And those 2 dogs just worked their fanny off, just in and out. And that was really cool. That was one of the cool shows too. I remember enjoying that.
Yeah, I remember the water dog things at Cabela's too. I did, because we would have the water dog going on,
The duck
And then
calling.
we would have the duck calling contest, and then we would have the Avery panel. Remember, we did those Q&As that we put together a panel, and we'd have.
Those were good. I wish they'd still do those kind of things.
It's so sad to me to see kind of. I remember how awesome it used to be to go to all those shows and the parking lot events and the duck calling contest, and just the camaraderie and the energy and the networking that you got done there. And I know a lot of things change with the internet and the way people shop now, and it just seems like a lot of that energy is it's so easy to get content now, to where most people be like, oh, we got to go down there this week. We're going to get to meet Fred Zink or Justin Tackett or get to see Yella. And now it's like, man, we can just go online and watch Yella do this and do that. And it's I don't know. People, I think, are missing out today. And I think Max still has some successful events, and there's a few of the retailers do. Rogers does, Final Flight, but for the most part, man, I remember we would travel every weekend to a Bass Pro or a Cabela's or a Sportsman's Warehouse or a Max or a Simmons. There was events all the time.
Those are fun too. I enjoy that. I agree. I miss those. I miss doing that. I miss being kind of, just seeing people,
Yeah,
now we see them on Instagram.
Especially with COVID. It's like, if it wasn't for Zoom, we'd have like the last 120 days of no meetings.
That's funny.
We are filming in California. I mean, I literally haven't left my house. I would go to the private trainer one-on-one instruction a couple times a week. Once we got to that phase 3 to where they could do that legally again, and I would go with my daughter to see her mom once in a while and transfer back and forth. I went to California for the first time. And going there is like heck anyway. Even when COVID's not in, but with COVID, we were going to go to our favorite steakhouse. Okay, we were going to go eat at this place called Fifth Street Steakhouse, and we were going to take a couple guys there the night before last. Outdoor seating only, which it's 98 degrees with humidity in this valley of rice down here in California, and you have to have your mask on the entire dinner. If you're taking a bite, you can take it down, but they don't even want you coercing or talking to your waiter or waitress without the mask on. So sitting outside in the 98-degree heat with a mask on, it's crazy to me. Think about what our country is doing. If you go and do that, you're like, you must really be hard up for a steak to go in and have a meal like that.
I think we're just hard up to do something. I mean, I've been in my room too. I mean, I've gone places. I go to the store and I go to my brother's and see my mom, and I go up to the river. I've gone to the river several times and just hung out there. But, I miss just going out with my girlfriend and having a drink. Just chilling.
We all miss. It's crazy. It shows you that we take a lot for granted.
Yeah, it does. And I hope they figure this out quick, because I want it to be fixed. I miss being around people.
I do too. I miss you. We had some fun when we were in Indiana together, and
yeah, we did. That was a good time.
No, it wasn't Indiana. We were in Ohio together, and then Kentucky.
Yeah. That was super fun. I enjoyed that.
We had a blast.
So I'm hoping I can get you down to the Crown this year, and if we have it, I guess we're going to, but planning on it. Get you to come down and do some stuff with Lee. And
is Lee Howard a good dog trainer?
Yes.
Good handler.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you like Brad Arrington?
Brad doesn't run him as much anymore. Yeah, I do like Brad, but I don't see him as much anymore. I see that he Lee's the guy.
Who's your favorite trainer you've ever met besides Justin Tackett? Can you say that, or are you going to piss some people off?
No, I can't say that. I do have a favorite up and comer right now, though. And just because when I first met him, I was like, "Who is that kid? Like, who's that running that dog?" Because he looked like a young kid, and he was 19, I think, and this was 3-4 years ago, and it was at Pepper's Pond, and they were like, "Oh, he works for Rhodey. He's running some of Rhodey's dogs." I was like, "Oh, okay." And like, he is hot right now. He's 24 years old. His name's Luke Core, and he is the one to beat right now in my mind. Him and Steven. I mean, like, Steven won the Crown this year, but Luke is so young, and so I don't know, there's just something about him that's fun to watch, because he gets super, super excited. At the line when he does well, he gets super excited. He's won Team of the Year twice, that's Eukanuba Team of the Year with his dog Indy, and he's got back-to-backs on that. He's leading it right now with a dog named Bang. So I just like him because he's fun to watch. He's young, it's fun to see some young people come into the event. Which brings me to another thing that I did want to tell you about. I don't know if you know we're doing this or not, but we started in our second year, we started a college event.
Oh, cool.
And we kind of opened it up to high school and opened it up to where we can have other, kids run other people's dogs. So we're having a hard time finding dogs at the level we want that a kid owns. You know what I mean? So we're trying to build the youth. We're trying to build the youth and dogs up, in all venues. We want to get youth involved. So I think if we kind of start this, it'll start helping, kids get involved with the sport and maybe want to go get their own dog and learn to train it and start running it in some hunt tests and stuff. So
that's a cool.
In turn will lead to, waterfowl hunters and stuff, a new group of those,
So which campuses are you concentrating on? Is it more?
Well, we did it the first year, which was last year, and it was kind of a whim. I got on Facebook and we literally started, I started messaging DU chapters at these colleges.
That's what I was just going to say. That'd be a smart way to do it.
And got a hold of a few kids there that did have dogs. And one really, his name is Hunter Lamar. He really helped me start finding people because he played the game and he had a good dog and he trains with Steve Endurance. So he helped me start finding kids. And we ended up with only 7. We did 2-man teams, which was an idea we had this first year, which we've already changed because it was hard. So you had 2-man teams. And we had kids from, I don't know, we had 7 teams, 14 kids, 6 of which were girls, which I was really impressed with. And I had South Dakota, North Dakota as a team. It was a brother and sister team. I had Texas A&M. I had Clemson, UGA, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. I mean, we had kids from kind of all over the place, which was crazy, And so we had that event here in Little Rock, and it reminded me of the first Great Outdoor Games because it was the kid and their dog. You know what I mean? It was that level again where you had that person and their dog. So it was real intimate. They had a blast. And so this year we because it was so hard for them to find teammates, we opened it up to be just single teams, but they are coached. So you have a coach you have a coach, and that coach is coaching you at the line. You know what I mean? So you're not running that dog. You're getting coached as you're running that dog, which is a different, whole different concept. So we had that, and this year we had about 14 kids again, which I was surprised we even had that with COVID. And then we kind of had a meeting with all the kids, and they have decided that to grow it, they think that we should open it up and let other kids run dogs that are, able to run. You know what I'm saying? So for instance, like, if Lee had a dog and there was a kid that wanted to run it, they could run that dog basically, and he could coach them, type of thing. You know what I mean? And we feel like if we do that, it'll open those eyes up to these kids that like, hey man, this is super fun. I want to do this sport, and, maybe they'll get a puppy and start training it and get to that level themselves, or, it's just a good way to get the kids, and they're not like kids, they're young adults, gets them involved with the sport of dogs and waterfowl and the whole thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's how you get the next generation of trainers going. I mean, this kid you just mentioned that when he was 19 and you saw him and then he's running one of Rhodey's dogs, you said, and then he's 24 now and he's the one to beat. I mean, 24, like that's right when you're getting out of college pretty much. So these kids that are in college have that to look at, like, look, I mean, this kid's he's the one to beat, right? He's won team of the year twice.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. He's a super sharp kid.
There's not enough said about, like, when you say that they're being coached at the line, like a good dog handler is, like, I don't want people to think like, oh, you just go up there and it's all the talents in the dog. Obviously the dog's high powered. They've got a lot of talent. There's a lot of training in that dog, but these handlers are on a different level too. There is a difference.
Yeah.
There's different levels of handlers too. And to work up to to be a top handler, that's saying a lot of, there's just little things, just little tiny things of when to stop a dog, get downwind of a bird, little things.
There are so many there are so many, what's the word I want? Variables.
Variables, good word.
So
Yeah.
many, just like hunting. You got to know which way the wind's going, and every dog's different, and how to, that trainer's going to know how that dog's going to react, or how he's going to. Because all the dogs are different. They're their own personality. All of them are. I think that's the other thing that really attracted me when I first started it. You see a Labrador Retriever, and it's like, oh, it's a Labrador Retriever. Well, when you're around, like you said, when I'm around all these dogs for a length of time, they become a person to me. Like I will say, hey, well, go ask Stroker's dad to come here. I mean, I refer to the dog opposed to the handler. You know what I mean? I call it by the dog as the team, and go get your dad. But there's these dogs, like Stroker is like another one of my dogs that sticks out, and Dude, and Stroker's a Dude puppy. But Dude was kind of the next boomer, really. And he just passed away last year, but he's got several. He had like 15 Grand Passes. He's got 2 Crown Championship wins.
Wow. Who owned him?
Stephen Dur. Well, a guy named, I forgot his name. Mark, somebody I forgot, I think. I can't remember. I'm sorry. But Stephen ran that dog. He's the one that trained that dog. And so there's several puppies from that dog too that I'm seeing run now. Like the winner of this year's Crown was Georgia, and she's a Dude daughter. So, that line of dogs, you're seeing them, but they're really, they're large. I mean, they're just like Stroker just reminds me of this NFL player getting off the truck. I mean, he's just muscular and built and just huge. And you're just like, he's just gorgeous. You know what I mean? So you have all these different dogs, and they all have their personalities, and it's kind of cool. I'm very fortunate. I have one of the greatest jobs in the world.
That's why I asked you if you've become very hoity-toity and critical of most of other dogs that aren't on Dude's level. The Dude, they must have named him after.
I mean, I love the rescue dog. I mean, I'm like, I got a heart for the. I mean, look, those
are high-powered performing dogs, though, too. Rescue dogs and drug dogs. I mean, those are badass dogs. I'm talking about Jack over here who's squealing at the end of the duck blind. You still have patience and be like, oh, it's okay, Jack. Just stay down there and squeal.
Yeah, because I get a kid. Here's the deal. And I'm glad you brought that up. So I'll give you, for instance. So Larry McMurray is one of the amateur trainers, and he's been playing this game and the HRC game since I've been around. He was at the very first Great Outdoor Games, judged several of those, and judges now. He's on my board. He has a dog now named Grits, who is I guess she's a Dude daughter. She's, I think, 3, and she whines, and it drives him crazy, but she whines at the line. She just gets so excited, and she's always, just waiting for birds to come out and all that. It drives him crazy. And especially when he, runs tests. And I was working on the shows. He was in the top 6 this year. So when I was working on the shows last month, my dog is like at my feet sleeping. But every time I'd work on Larry on that piece of video, Grits would be, whining. And my dog would get up and climb up in my lap and try to see what's going on. And be like, no, just get down, But I think it's funny. I like to see, I know it's not good. And most trainers and most guys would not like to see a dog that's not very reserved at the line and focused, but I like seeing them get overly excited, because it just, you know what I mean? Like, I love when I see them doing their feet and they're just getting so excited about it, or if they have some verbal excitement. But I think that's fun, but I'm also thinking about the viewer's going to fall in love with that. You know what I mean?
No way. I
try to think about that.
I would. I'd be like, now they don't lose points for squealing at the line.
Yeah, they can't. Not really. I mean, they don't. None of them are that bad. I mean,
none of them are that bad.
They're not going to lose points. They're going to lose points if they're not steady. If they move up or get in front of the gun barrel or something like that. Yeah, they're going to get some. They're going to get dinged. But most of the time, they're pretty reserved.
So you like the idea of a dog that doesn't do that, but it's cute when it happens, as long as you don't have to listen to it all day in the duck blind. Because you can hit stop on that edit system, or just mute the audio and be done with it.
I'm sure it drives people crazy in the duck blind. I'm sure it does.
Shannon Nardi hot seat. You're on the deck at the river at your dad's place. Your dad, rest in peace. What a pioneer and a trailblazer, and what he meant to outdoor television, and from bass fishing to hunting to sports, outdoor games, everything that he did, and pretty much gave you your way and taught you a lot of where you're at in life. We could do an entire series of podcasts on that man.
Yep.
You're at his lake house. There's a cooler on the back porch. You're getting ready to sit down and watch the sun go down over the river. You reach into that cooler, pull what beer out of the ice? What do you hope that beer is when you get it out of the top of that cooler and it's revealed when it comes out of the ice?
Is this a trick question?
No, it's a hot seat. Go.
Well, it probably wouldn't be a beer. It would be some kind of big drink that I decided to make that day.
You can't say that, Shannon. That's the hot seat. It's in a cooler. You pull it out of the ice. You're not going to pull a margarita mixed at your favorite Mexican restaurant.
Okay, I'll tell you what the last one I pulled out of the cooler was. It would have been the Bud Light Lime.
All right, you're on a walk and you got your headphones on and you're power walking. You're doing one of your daily workouts. What song's playing on your headphones?
Oh God, that's hard because I have listened to too much music. Probably Coldplay right now.
Right now, at this point in your life, you get to go to dinner tomorrow in Little Rock, Arkansas, a steakhouse called McMurray's down there. You get to invite one person. Who's at the top of your list right now to talk to besides Donald Trump? Go.
Like anybody?
Yes.
If I could
Alive.
talk to anybody? Alive. As I say, I'd say Dad, but I don't know.
God. Wow. I'm going to have to work on hot seat with Shannon.
I know, I'm terrible. I'm sorry. I don't know because there's too many people and I can't single out one.
You can't single out one person. So, you can't pick one person. All right, fine.
I can't.
I'm going to come up with one more hot seat question to try to get you.
If I had to pick one, my grandson. If he could be here, I would take him.
You would take your grandson. Look at you getting all sentimental. What is the scarf around your neck?
This is my Super Series buff.
Can you send me some of those?
Yep. So when I go in the store, I can just put that up.
Can you send me some of those, please?
Yeah.
I need some SRS merch and some stuff to wear,
I can send you a pack. I can send you a swag bag.
Promise?
Yeah.
Can you also include some Southern food in there, some of your Southern cooking?
And yeah, I actually am kind of good at that.
I know. That's why I said include it. Do you have any closing words for our Eukanuba Duck Dog audience? Do you have anything to say to, I don't know, let them remember you by? Do you want to sing a song? Do you want to hum a song? Do you want to whistle? Do you want to quote a movie line from an Arkansas-based movie?
An Arkansas-based movie.
What's the best country song ever written about Arkansas?
I don't know. I'd say Glenn Campbell would probably be a good Arkansas.
The Lineman song?
Yeah,
Huh?
the one. Lineman's good.
What about Colin Ray, Little Rock?
Yeah.
What about Reba, Little Rock?
Yeah.
Here's one for you to look up. The artist's name is Hayes Carl.
Who's that?
He is a red dirt guy. He is an amazing singer-songwriter out of Arkansas, Texas. I don't know if he's from Arkansas. Hayes. Last name is Carll. Carl. And he has a song called Little Rock.
Really? I'll have to look that up.
Listen to that. But he's got so many good albums. I'll send you a couple of them. Here's another artist for you to look up. Brent Cobb, Cobb, Brent Cobb. Brent Cobb.
Okay.
And Adam Hood, Hood. Those are my preferences today. I got so many, like Leith Lofton and Drake and so many good ones.
And you have a bunch of artist friends.
Some.
You do.
Painters. Shannon, you've said it all today. I stumped you on the hot seat. I want you to practice that. I want this to be back and forth, like boom, boom, boom. Next time I ask you what beer, what song, what's on your scarf. Shannon, you're awesome. You're an inspiration.
Was that a hot seat question?
Huh?
Was this a hot seat question?
No, not really. But I appreciate everything you've done for Sporting Dog and for hunting. You helped me get my start. If it wasn't for those trips, I'm telling you, wouldn't have been a call from Mike Devine, wouldn't have been a Foul Life. I'd still be pumping toilets. I'd still be pumping toilets. I would be doing the toilets at the SRS events.
Let me call it. Hey, I need 3 porta potties, Chad.
I would upsell you to like, how many people do you have? And you would say 90. And I'd say you need 2 toilets for every 10 people because it's hot. They're going to be drinking a lot of water.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You would.
And then as soon as I seen Tackett or somebody trying to urinate outside on a tree, I would call the health department and turn you in. And then they would say, you need more toilets out here. And then I would upsell you again.
You totally would do that.
That's Shannon Nardi, Dancin Dog Productions, Super Retriever Series, Team Eukanuba. She has done so much for the sporting dog community since 2000, the ESPN Great Outdoor Games, all the way through the when she started SRS and Super Retriever Series and what it's done. You've heard it from Chris Aiken. You've heard it from a lot of our guests here. And now almost every top trainer in the country has made it a goal to get a dog in the SRS. So think about it. Check them out. Super Retriever Series. They're all over Instagram at Super Retriever Series. You can check them out online at superretrieverseries.com. Get Jack signed up. Go in there and, get humbled a little bit and then get your dog trained the way that dogs are supposed to be trained. In my humble opinion, there's a difference when your dog has been trained the right way. I really mean that. And also look into that Eukanuba diet nutritional program. It's made a ton of difference in all of our dogs across the country, from all of our dogs like Axel and Mo up to Slash. Who?
And
Peach and your dog Peach. Shannon, do you have any closing words before I cut you off and let you go get your margarita at what's the name of the restaurant?
Oh, The Fold.
The Fold. Hey, The Fold, if you're listening to this, get ready because Nardi's headed your way. Get 2 pitchers ready.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Let's do it again. I want to come on your podcast too. I mean, I'll go in your hot seat.
Okay, I have a hot seat too.
Okay, when COVID's over, we're going to go to a concert or something together and 2-step swing dance, and I'll listen to you do karaoke.
Sounds good, bud.
This episode of the Foul Life Podcast Duck Dog Series, fueled by Eukanuba, was brought to you again by our friends at Eukanuba Performance Brand Dog Food. Check them out. They're all over online. You can see them all over every social media platform on Instagram at Eukanuba Sporting Dog. We're so proud and humbled to be part of their family and their goal of getting your dogs healthy and living their greatest life. Thank you, Eukanuba. Thank you, Shannon Nardi. Tom, hit that button. This is 2 a.m. Logic. The song is called My Foul Life. Talk to y'all soon.